Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We are here with Martin Burns. And as you know, this webinar is dedicated to the 11 steps you must take before purchasing talent acquisition technology. Hi, Martin. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Ashley. How are you?
Good, good. I'm very excited about this one. I'm probably not supposed to tell people this, but I have had a sneak peek at the slide deck, so I know we've got a lot of information coming for us today. Thank you.
Sure.
So we are just going to sit here for a second while everybody logs on. We'll go
No
through
problem.
a few of the housekeeping items. Martin, do you mind moving to the next slide?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So while everybody's logging on, we just want to make sure you know that you are in listen only mode. That means we can't hear you. You can hear us, we can't hear you, but please don't be shy. Use the questions panel in your sidebar to ask Martin anything you need. We will do our best to get to every single question today. We will not be interrupting the webinar unless we need clarification, and we'll save as much as we can till the end. If we can't get to your questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Ashley at recruitingdaily.com and we'll pass your questions along to Martin. Also share, we're live. Please use the #RDaily hashtag to share all over social media. Just because we've started doesn't mean people can't join. And we are recording. You will receive a copy of the slide deck and the recording after the webinar, so keep an eye on those emails. Martin, do you mind moving to the next slide?
Of course not, Ashley.
I'm freezing up today.
Got your back.
So we have Text Recruit here with us today. We have worked with them for a long time. Thank you so much, Text Recruit, for making this possible. Just in case you don't know who Text Recruit is, they're a candidate-centric and employee engagement platform that uses text message, live chat, and AI to help you hire better people faster. They are the only platform to centralize all talent communication. So they allow recruiters and HR to manage relationships with their talent throughout the entire employee lifecycle. Please, please check them out. Thank you. Thank you, Text Recruit. And Martin, do you mind moving to the next slide?
Ta-da.
Thank you. JobVite is also here with us today. They are a complete recruiting software platform with candidate-centric recruiting model that helps companies engage candidates with meaningful experiences at the right time, in the right way. And I love this catch cry from the first look to the first day. They are a wonderful company. We've also worked with them for a very, very long time. So thank you very much, JobVite, for being here with us today. And now we get to introduce Martin.
All right, here I go. Or here you go.
Awesome.
About me.
Martin, do you mind moving to the next?
Meta. Yeah, there you go.
I love this picture. We have used this at every opportunity we can while marketing this webinar. Thank you so much for that. That's awesome. Martin Burns is the VP of Strategic Consulting at HireClicks, and I am terrible at introducing people, so I'm probably just going to hand this over to you. I did see, I put your bio up here for you, or we did, and I did see a big line in your bio that says, "I like problems," which I think is really cool because I like problems too, especially when other people teach us how to solve them, which is why you're here today. So
Well, I'm here to guide people in how to learn how to solve their own problems. Let's put it that way. Take a step back. I solve nothing. I guide.
We really appreciate you being here with us today, Martin. This has been a really fun process to prepare for, and I'm very, very excited about this. So I'm going to just hand this over to you, let you tell all of these wonderful people about yourself, because I think you will do a much better job of it than I will. And again, any questions, I'll pass them along as they are appropriate, and anything we can save till the end, we will.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Martin.
Okay, next slide. Let's go here. I'm in control. All right, so this is a really long title, and I made it longer by adding the panicking part in too. So I want to talk a bit about these sort of steps and what I'm thinking as far as this webinar goes to the kind of community, because I want I want to caveat this thing a little bit from the beginning. So let me just jump into a bit, and I'll get there in one sec. Let me jump into a bit more about who I am and what I do. I like that picture, actually. I do like the skateboard one, but that was in Kenya a year or two ago, doing some volunteer work. And he was awesome. I was basically his wingman. What I do is I head up the HR Tech or TA Tech advisory practice for HireClicks, and I work closely with a team of consultants. We're all peers. We're all former practitioners. We bring a lot of domain expertise that slot really nicely together. So we've got expertise in my case, in technology. We have expertise in one of my colleagues, Jen. She's great at brand. Kara is really solid at process. And then Mo's really good at sort of we're working with sourcing, recruiting, and training, and kind of understanding org structure. And we all are strong in those areas, but we also bring in strengths in brand and process and org structure as well. But we each sort of lead in those areas, if that makes sense. Sort of SMEs. And by doing that, we cover people, process, technology, brand really nicely. And that gives us, why we give our clients is that full spectrum view of how they're operating. And in this case, I'm here to talk about technology because I have bought a lot of tech over the course of my life, and obviously even predating TA. I was buying well, if you remember Trello's and those sorts of things, and Palms and whatnot, way back in the day, and hacking, then taking them apart and trying to build tools out of them. So a bit of a geek. In terms of just general broad technology. I was doing basic programming back in, gosh, in middle school in the early 80s, if that tells you anything about me. So, and Dungeons and Dragons too, of course. So I go back a ways as far as just being a bit of a techie, bit of a geek. And that evolved into working in recruiting, ultimately getting to HireClicks, but prior to HireClicks, working on the corporate side for a few organizations. Most recently, before HireClicks, was PwC, and they brought me in for a multi-year kind of problem-solving role, where I was helping them understand their tech ecosystem, how to buy large, complex systems for a large, complex organization. And then before that, led recruiting for multiple organizations. Some of them are global, some were local. They were generally fast growth, high tech. Figure things out, build the process, build the technology, build the stack, build the brand, all that kind of fun stuff. You build the team. So I've been pretty hands-on, both technically on the product side, where I've been helping implement it for places where I worked, as well as working for ZoomInfo for a bit, where I was working more in the product as well as the operational side of recruiting. Did a startup where I built technology. So sort of who I am in general. Beyond that, when I'm not being a nerd in this really weird niche in TA Tech, my dad, I'm a traveler. I do a bunch of volunteering. I try to cook food occasionally. I like reading poetry. I fall down on ski slopes on a regular basis. I'm better at the après-ski part of ski, frankly, which involves cocktails. But beyond that, find me on social. I'm pretty out there in terms of, well, I'm out there in terms of personality, but also in terms of socially. I'm very open. So Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I'm all about that. I've also got a group called Talent Product Plays, and talent on Facebook. And the Talent Product Plays is got about 2,500 members right now. We curate the membership really carefully. So if someone is not part of the community, we're not going to let them in. And by community, I mean you have to be someone who uses TA technology, or at least HR technology. You uses it, markets it, analyzes it, builds it, sells it, whatnot. So you're involved in there somehow within the ecosystem. And it's a really strong conversation around who we are, where we're going, what tools we use, what tools we like. You're not allowed to pitch your tool or market your tool or your solution while you're in there in the group. So if you're looking to buy a CRM and you ask the group, hey, what CRMs do you like? If a vendor comes at you and starts pitching their CRM, we're going to kick them out right away. It's kind of zero tolerance as far as that goes. If they're brand new and just didn't know, we might give them a bit of latitude, but generally we're pretty strict about not letting you be harassed by sales folks. So as a buyer, you should feel good. As a salesperson, I'm sorry I'm taking a channel away from you, but it's a good spot to be where you can listen and learn. And get product ideas, and you can get leads. Just don't harass them, blatantly on the platform. It's meant to be kind of a walled-in space for free discussion. So all that said, that's me. That's kind of what I do, and I want to frame up a little bit about this webinar. So when Recruit Neatly approached me a month or two ago about doing this, I said, look, we've got an idea for a webinar. We have a slot. We want to call 11 things to think about when you build buying TA technology. And I thought, gee, that's a really horrible long title. And 11 seems like a lot to talk about over the course of a 45-minute webinar. So I thought, well, I'll boil it down to 3. But as I started boiling it, it got longer. The more I started thinking about all the steps that I take with my current clients, helping them buy technology, or taking when I've been a practitioner, it's a lot. And so I started cutting things out, trying to get down to the magical 3 number. There's no way I was getting there. So I kind of pulled back a bit and said, so recruiting data, maybe they were smart about this. 11 is the right number. Let's try and figure that out. So I came at it again. And what I have for you are 3 concepts that I think are really important to hit while you are going through the process of engaging with new technology for recruiting. And there's not a linear order here. It's fairly logical, but your order may say, well, we always do this step before this step, when you step A before step B, but you have B first. That's fine. Do the order you do it internally. A lot of them can be concurrent. It's not meant to be, again, linear. If you do linear in this approach or any approach by technology, it's going to take you forever to get things done. Well, I mean, it might be safer. It might be that you manage each little piece in the next section and you've dotted all your I's and crossed all your T's, but it'll be 18 months before you go live with technology. And you want to try and go a bit quicker than that, a little more nimble. The reason you're getting tech in place is in part to be nimble, is to beat your competition. And if you're going real slow and just super procedural on all this, your competition will jump in, and so you do an agile approach, do things concurrently, and roll out quicker, and they'll be heady. So don't take this as sort of must do A, then B, then C. Don't forget D. It could be A and D happen at the same time, or it could be B comes first, then C, D and A comes after that. If you're feeling really crazy. So all that said, that's sort of the basics around this. The next thing I want to talk about, and again, I'm pausing before I jump into the 11, is this quote here is important. And it's something I've kept in my head for a long time. It's from the novel Dune by Frank Herbert, and it's the opening line. It's the beginning is a very delicate time. And I think it's accurate in all kinds of situations. You could be diplomacy, could be dating, could be buying TA technology. If you don't build your plan properly, if you don't think about your foundations, there's going to be ripples down the road, repercussions, your post-implementation especially, that are really going to haunt you. So be careful about this, be deliberate. Again, don't be so dogmatic that you take forever, but you don't want to rush this either. You've got to kind of balance it, if that makes sense. Step 1, I mean, really important actually, is why are you buying this technology? Why are you actually thinking about getting a new ATS or a new CRM? It's hard and risky, and the hard part is, I hope it's obvious. There's a lot more to it than you even probably realize right now, but it's probably enough where you're starting to feel kind of like, well, this could be hard. And it's risky because the failure rates are pretty high in technology, and the failure rates implementation, your career, your reputation, how you manage it, that's tied to this. If you're a sponsor, if you're driving this, it's visible. So there's risk there too. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying I've done everything perfectly. I've screwed up too. That's why I say I know it's risky. You can learn from it, but just bear in mind that this is a bit of a gamble. No technology is going to solve every problem. And so if you think you're buying a silver bullet, or your executives do, and you don't because you're not going to, there's risk, and it's hard to kind of get past that too. I hear this a lot. I've heard this as a practitioner and also with clients, and it's any number of reasons why they're buying technology. These are 3 kind of common ones, or examples of common ones. There's an exec somewhere, senior partner or senior partner's cousin or their wife saw something, and or your boss tells and said, hey, listen, I read about this and you should get this. It can be any number of things, right? But you're being told to buy something because somebody at senior level with power, capital P, decide you should do this. They have no idea what AI actually does. They just think you need it, and the org's got to get it. And Goldman Sachs is using AI for all their sourcing and recruiting and filtering. So we should too. All that said, slow it down a little bit. Think about it, and make sure you have the right reason for doing it. Don't just sort of do it because you're being told to do it, right? The second one, Really common, and it's conversation. In fact, I'm in Austin right now in a hotel room waiting to go to TA Tech. So yeah, we're on the road, we're at conferences. A lot of folks out there, practitioners, are meeting their friends, their peers. They're seeing stuff, they're hearing great stories. It's all really cool and shiny. They went to a conference, saw a panel. The panel talked about doing these great things with I don't know, AI. We'll stay on the theme, AI powered chatbots. So now they think they have to get it because someone told them, hey, listen, I do this. It works really well. You should do this. That's not a good reason. It's a reason to think about it, to start exploring, but it's not the reason you should be doing these things. And yet again, I've been talking. I've had folks reach out to me and say, listen, I want to buy a sourcing tech based on this because my peer that this company is doing it and I should be too. That's not a good rationale. And this last is really common. New leadership comes in, and they do internal surveys. Everyone hates the ATS. They try logging in. They can't do things they want to do because that they've had other ATSs in former roles. Ergo, the ATS may be terrible. It may not be. It may be it was installed improperly. It could be the feature you're looking for exists and it wasn't designed properly. It could be on your org's shoulders that things got messed up. Make sure before you kick out technology that is the tech's the problem. It could be you've got something perfectly fine in place, and if that's the case, hang on to it. Just reinstall it. Going through procurement, doing RFP, all of that integration, all of that is a huge process. And if you can solve it quickly with your current technology and get to a good solution, I recommend that too. So again, just sort of thinking about why you're buying the tech, why are you going through this. There's more reasons than this that are kind of nonsensical, but people come up with a lot. And they seem to make sense when they think them, but they aren't always what you want. So again, wait a minute. You got to plan a bit before you buy your technology. Again, it's the beginning. Why are we doing this? Where are we going? What's the point, right? So just before you rush into things, before you're calling vendors, going to conferences, giving your card or saying we're looking to buy ATS, what do you got? Just give it a minute. Think about why you're doing it and what you actually really need. And I'll say this for again over and over again throughout this webinar. If you're not buying the right tool or you're buying it for the wrong reason, you're going to go down a hole and you're going to be harassed by vendors nonstop. You're going to get emails and calls and again, sorry, they're probably vendors listening. Not harassed is the wrong word. I've been in sales as well too. You're going to be politely engaged with over and over again by vendor representatives to buy their technology because they think you want to buy an ATS. You told them you did. That's fair, right? So just make sure what you're looking for is what you're looking for, and you have a sense for who you want to be talking to kind of early on, and you can scope all that before you start doing your research. All right, so this is what you want to do. This is really, I mean, this is a foundational step. You really want to understand what your processes are, why you're doing what you're doing, and who your organization really is. So how does sourcing touch marketing, touch recruiting, touch hire managers, onboarding, et cetera, where are all the touch points? And then within each bucket, what are your processes? You want to map them out. You want to sit down there and really nail how do we do all these things? And it can get and should get pretty granular. How do we send an offer letter? How do we get an email approved? I'm sorry, email. How do we get an offer approved? Quite often by email. How do we get a rec created? What are the steps, step by step? Hire manager logs into this system here, does this. Hire manager can't log in, gets frustrated, emails me. I take their email, I copy and paste it into a Word doc. I mean, these are real steps that happen, right? So you map all of that out. This is what happened. We're not in theory, but we're actually doing day by day, and that involves getting with your teams, right? That involves getting with your sources, your recruiters, sitting down in rooms for hours and hours and then. It involves probably bringing a consultant to support you in this, who understands process mapping and optimization. Work through all this, figure out how it all touches, what connects with what. Once you have that, then you can look at your map and start saying, well, geez, over here, they're emailing offer letters. Over here, it should be going through the system, but they found a workaround because that's faster. And I tell you something, we've all been recruiters, most of us have been. We are really good at finding workarounds. If we have any expertise, it is in getting around things, getting the job done. That's not a bad trait to have as a person, as a recruiter, because you're putting butts in seats, and that's kind of your emperor metric, your number one metric is butts in seats. And we can table that for a couple minutes about is that a good metric or not, or are there better ones, et cetera, et cetera. But that one's important to at least bear in mind for what's driving your teams, and that means they're going to be going here. because here's a wall basically, or they can scramble through, I guess. But they're gonna find the easier path to get to Boston C, this gate here. So understand why they're doing things. That's a technology problem right there. You've identified it. Great, we can fix that. It could be a process issue. It could be simply that they've got 20 approvers for a rec. That's process. Fix that. That's not technology. Again, you start identifying what fix with you do with tech, what you do with process, and that will shape your plan for what you're looking to buy, yeah, both now and down the road too. And it also will help you build your internal case too. I'm gonna get there in 1 second, right? I want to show you a quick sample process map. We build this all the time for our clients, and this is for one section of their process. As you're going through it, you'll see they use ADP, rec, Word, TA by email. Right here, this can be done via technology. So it completes your RAF in Word, sends RAF to TA by email. Well, if you've got a more modern system, you can jump real quickly these 2 steps. This is too much. So again, you're looking for places to fix your technology. You fix your process when you buy technology or not. All right. So this is here because I have a son, and I occasionally play Fortnite with him, which basically means I get shot in the head a lot by him from behind, which is troubling to say the least. This is important too. I think as you're planning out, okay, we know we want to get this. We know we need a new ATS or whatever CRM. I'm going to do ATS because why not? That's the theme we're going with this webinar. Looking for a new ATS. Great, that's wonderful. You understand that you need one because you have process issues that can be solved by better technology. Your current ATS is slowing you down. That's an issue. You've identified it. So what are your objectives? So you have a sense, you want just to solve these process steps, but once you get there, what does it look like? What are you aiming for? What's your timeline? What are your deliverables? What are your metrics? How do you succeed? So when you tell IT and finance right now, we need an ATS, and they say to you, prove it, you want to show the metrics. You want to say, well, here's your objectives. We want to get here. By doing this, we will achieve this kind of savings, right? So we will shorten our hiring cycle by recs by 20%. And every day a rec is opened, on average across the organization, we lose, I'm describing a number, $10,000. So by shortening by X amount of days, by 10 days, we're going to save 100 grand per opening. That's a lot of money. That's really inaccurate, but you'll be saving a lot of money overall by shortening cycles. Or we will hire better quality candidates using assessments, and we've proven that, but with these numbers here, and this, if we get better quality, we get better results, better satisfaction for our clients, et cetera, we make money. Ultimately, you want to get finance metrics to tie back to revenue. How are you impacting revenue? Are you bringing savings in, or are you actually driving revenue up somehow? And it's the latter is harder to make, a harder case to make. It's a bit subjective because it involves quality, it involves some fuzzier thinking, but you can get pretty close. But you can definitely show them savings by changing process steps and by doing an analysis. And that's important to get funding, right? Because money's, and for those of you of a certain generation, you'll recognize our old friend, Conte Monet. If you're not from that generation, I apologize, but it's worth finding him because it's a hilarious and risky movie and worth watching. We're all adults here. But Conte Monet, so who's paying for your technology? And that's critical too, I think. It's not always clear where it's coming from. It could be you have a budget and for technology, a bucket of money, and it's all yours, you control it. That's pretty cool. It could be that IT pays for your fixed costs, your standardized costs. I think I have a slide on that too. Yeah. Fixed capital expense from IT is a wonderful thing to get to, but they want justification. They want hard data. They want to understand why are we doing this? How do you justify this? If you've got a current ATS and you're swapping it out, find out how much you're paying for it right now. It could be you have an incredible bargain because it's a legacy contract, or it was a cheap buy 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and what you're looking for now is more modern, hence more expensive. Make sure that you understand the delta. Are you going to save money by buying this short term by buying, or are you investing money in a new platform and there's a cost there? Get a handle on that, right? Look at your contracts, and this is really important. I think that I almost want to make this step one, or step two rather. Once you sort of figured out what you're looking to get rid of or what your problem children may be, look at all your contracts. Look at your renewal dates And don't just look at the renewal dates. Look in very fine print somewhere in the contract for anything that says the word auto renew. Auto renew. That is one of the worst phrases in the English language. What happens almost invariably is, phrase of words, is that you've got a contract that expired 6 months. You say, well, 6 months, that's me a scramble to get a new system in place. I better rush. I'm going to panic. Yada yada yada. You're through your process. You've been working hard. You've nailed everything. Yada yada, et cetera, et cetera. And all of a sudden, you get an email from the vendor saying, hey, we just auto renewed you for another 2 years. Because not did the auto renew, and we were emailing our contact, and that contact with procurement maybe left a year ago, or it could have been the person you placed. The emails didn't bounce back. They can justify by saying we were emailing the right person the whole time. No one told us that they left. We auto renewed, and now you're in a situation where you actually start working with your current vendor, saying no, we were going to fire you anyways, which you didn't want to tell them yet. So can we do a 6-month extension or whatnot? And they will just raise your pricing, which is fair. So read your contracts, understand your deadlines, know when things are ending, when they're renewing, look for the auto renew, look for clauses around the integrations, make sure that they don't control your assets. So if you have, I'm a car company, bmw.jobs.com, that may or may not be their career site, I don't know. So let's say BMW said we want to change career site vendors. They may not even own that URL. The vendor they were working with currently may own it, and they have to buy it from them. That'll probably be in your contract. All that kind of stuff matters. So read through them, understand what your costs are, your timing, get a sense for savings or not savings. If it's a new purchase, you're looking for new investments, and then again, it's metrics. It's not field facts. It's where you're going to people who deal in numbers on a regular basis, finance, IT, etc., and speaking their language. And metrics is the language of business. So define your objectives, define success, your process, all that kind of good stuff. Use that to find your money. All right. So again, you have a sense for I need a new ATS. That's a pretty broad statement. There are a lot of them out there. They're built for different reasons. They have different philosophies. They scale differently. Some are global, some are not. Some integrate well, some don't, etc. There's lots around this. So what do you actually need? What kind of, and this can be it's a buck within a bucket. What kind of ATS do you actually need? Where does it live? What's it going to impact? All right. So I hate funnels, and I built this funnel, so I'm a bit ashamed of myself, but I need a way of showing the client and Webbers in general a general sense of the landscape of TA technology, what's solving for what, and what kind of fits in where, right? So this is job boards quite often. This is Google. This is consumer level advertising, et cetera. Top of the funnel. Down on here, your career site, your landing pages, your chatbots. Yeah, this whole kind of weird mix here of engagement. Gamification, GRM, RMP, and all that, and then process compliance dropping into here, and then the HRS. So it's a pretty big, broad category, those sorts of categories. Within here, ATS, you start thinking, okay, now we know we want to be in here because this is solving a problem, but we also need to fix this because we need a career site. So we need ATS with a career site, or we need ATS CRM career site, or some combo. Define what you need with that overlaps within there somewhere. It could simply be an ATS. Great, that's fairly easy. It's probably more than that. You probably need ATS with assessments, or you want to get a CRM with a really robust career site and a chatbot, and maybe or an ATS with job distro. Who knows? It's a mix of things, right? So understand both what you need and what fits, and also what pieces that are kind of different and unique you're going to be looking for as well as part of that process, and kind of where they all fit into. Again, if you have questions, you ping in. It's weird doing webinars. You sort of talk to a laptop for an hour. So if you want to talk, let me know. Ash is monitoring.
We do have a question, Martin. I was going to hold it to the end, but would you like to answer it now just to break things up?
Yeah, I feel weird talking to people like this. It's not my normal, so go ahead.
Well, actually, the very first question that came in wasn't a question at all, and it was from Josh. He says, "Let's get weird." So, I mean, there's been a vote for that already.
I'm in Austin.
We're doing good.
I got weird already. Don't ask.
No, we're great. We're great. So, Scott would like to know, what preliminary steps do you recommend managers take to get staff excited about new TA tech? And I know this goes back to a different slide that's why I was going to hold it off until the end, but there you go.
Well, actually, your timing is perfect. This is
Okay,
bizarre.
awesome.
Yeah, and we didn't plan this whatsoever, so that's just really good
It's the
timing.
universe.
Yeah, exactly. It's karma or something.
Yeah.
Um, so although my karma hit my dog, but so user centered. This actually ties into this piece really nicely. So how do you get folks engaged with buying technology and actually using it? And it's a really good point. So over half of enterprise CRM adoptions or ERP in general, CRM ERP, and this goes beyond recruitment. This is just for kind of broad CRM adoption. Could be Salesforce, whatnot. At least half of them fail every year in the U.S. In Europe, it's more like 70 or 80%. Massive failure rates for these big purchases. It happens in recruiting all the time too, and that's because the people who are buying the software and implementing it weren't thinking about their users. They weren't user centric. They weren't thinking about how, once we go live with this, will our user base be delighted by the product we created for them? Because when you're buying software, you shouldn't just buy it out of the box and implement it. Make sure you design it to your processes, et cetera, like we said you earlier. So you become essentially part of the product team for this product. You're building a greenhouse or an iCIMS or a JobViter or Talea or whatnot for your environment. So you're sort of taking an off-the-shelf product and doing customization, and you are part of that process, which means you're serving an audience and you have customers, and those are your employees, those are your hiring managers, those are the folks who are actually your analysts and whatnot. If you're working with the agency of record, that's your external partners who are in the technology as well. You're building something for them to use. That's really important, and that goes back to my first sentence, which was a beginning is a very delicate time. This is a really important delicate time for your customer satisfaction, to make sure when you go live they use the product. They don't log in and go, I hate this thing, I'm going to go back to emailing again. That's what drives it really. Is if it wasn't built for them, if they feel like they weren't listened to, if there was no testing done, et cetera. So this is where this comes in. Be user centric. Those are your employees. Those are your recruiters. Those are your sourcers, the hiring managers. That's who you want to be focused on when you're building this product. It's really important, frankly. So yeah, people, right? I mean, it's really important that you're not buying something that's to in front of your people and saying, use this. It will be bought. We're going to follow the vendor's processes, et cetera, just log in and use it. That's not a good way to do it. I guarantee you, that's a failure rate. That is a failed adoption from the beginning. So you have to involve them early on. You want to get them involved, maybe not from the very, very, very beginning, but pretty closely, right? So start surveying your employees. As part of process mapping, what are you looking for? What do you need? That's a great, in fact, a wonderful opportunity to actually talk to a few people one-on-one. Be like, listen, we're having a very open conversation here. We're in this room together. There's no one's in trouble. If you tell me that you email all of your offer letters because you can't log into the system, you're not in trouble. So during the process, make sure they understand that. And while they're doing that, get their feedback and what they're frustrated by, but also what they'd like to see. They may not know what's out there, and make sure they understand. Listen, that you're giving me all these great ideas. They're wonderful. It's a good chance we'll do half of them because we can't do everything. But please give me all your ideas. So they understand that even if the idea was not implemented, you at least listen to it and give them feedback on why you didn't go for it. So if someone's really passionate about a certain piece of technology or way of doing things, and you can't get there simply because it's not on the market, or it's because the vendor you went with has everything but that piece, and you had to sacrifice something, make sure you explain to that person, here's why we didn't do what you wanted. We tried. Here's the workaround. If you have thoughts, let us know. Other tools you can think of, let us know. If nothing else, that shows you were working with them and thinking about them. And they won't be as inclined to log in and be like, I hate this damn thing. They can log in and go, well, I wish I had this. I understand why it doesn't. I will use the system. So early engagement and communication, getting feedback, critical, and that's being user centric. That's designing from the ground up. Well, think about your users. That's massive. So that's that great question. Alligators. So we talked about users, why does it fail, etc. This is important. So when I was in public accounting, we called them alligators. I've heard different phrases for them. I'm keeping it clean here, but essentially these are people who have massive influence in the organization and have nothing to do whatsoever with recruiting, except for they hire occasionally, but they want to have input. They understand hiring is important. They want something to say, or they really mean well, or they're trying to get attention. Who knows? But at some point during your process, they're going to jump up and try and slow you down. So be ready for alligators. We could talk a bit about how to kind of handle them too. It's occasionally can be like a triage as it's happening, but be aware that you're going to have folks coming in last minute, especially large enterprise, complex organizations who are going to try and slow things down or make a change. You need a team built up that can help you with this. All right, so here's how you get there. You make your plan about people. You build a ratio chart, and ratio charts are interesting. You can do different ways to do it. Some folks hate the phrase, hate the idea, but this is just a metaphor for how you build your team, right? You got to think of who's actually going to be really responsible, go to, day by day, like making things happen, and actually hold lines on the Excel spreadsheet you're tracking your project in, or in Asana, however you're doing it. Their names are on there because they're responsible to deliver things, and if they don't get things done, things fail, right? So they're critical. You're in there, I'm sure. Procurements can be in there somewhere as well. Certain SMEs and whatnot. You'll have your kind of core team that own things. Accountable, they're also in that list. They owe you things over time. It's not as so much like Bob owes me this. It's more like IT owes me this, and they'll have someone there who's going to be responsible for their own little turnover ratio charts to deliver this piece of it. But they owe you certain things at certain times. So if you're doing an ATS implementation, you make sure IT knows that in 4 months we need your Taleo team available. Your Oracle team available for the integration part. Just make sure they're aware of that in your project team. Consultant is these are folks you want to be. You want friendly. You buy them a beer occasionally. You're nice to them because you need their advice here and there, and you want to get their feedback. And well, hey, if I do this, what happens here? That could be compliance. That could be your attorneys. That could be various. They're not really stakeholders. They're involved, but you want their guidance. The informed part is how you deal with your alligators. So if you can start thinking about who typically jumps in last minute and screws things up, or who always has something to say last minute that's important, or could come in here and kind of cause a problem. The way you deal with them, I found, is you treat them as informed. Make sure they understand what's going on the whole time. So they aren't like, so it's not like last minute where the CMO says, "Hey, a new career site, no one told me. Let's stop everything. I want to know what's going on here," and they blow it up, and all of a sudden you can't go live with your career site because marketing wasn't told, or at least at the top level, what was happening. So make sure that even if you are working closely with somebody from the corporate marketing team on the website, either you're consulting or they're accountable, maybe they're responsible, make sure that their executive knows what's going on too, that they've been informed. And that's, again, just so, and this is an example, that's just so that they feel like they had a sense of what's going on, they aren't surprised by things. And if they have an objection and they come to you last minute with it, you can push back at them and say, "Listen, you've known about this for a year. You've had 12 months. We're really far along the path here. We've kept you informed. Here's the email chain. Here's everything we've done for you. We can't stop now." And if they really push back, you have a paper trail and data to show that you did your best to accommodate them. And hopefully you can get one of your executives to push back a bit based on that work you've done and say, "Listen, they told you everything. If you've had your chance, we're going live. It is what it is." But make sure you've at least put them in that informed bucket as much as you can and kept them informed, and do it sincerely, because they need to know. They hate surprises, and they may have good input along the way. So think about your alligators and put them in, or your rocks or your icebergs or whatever you want to call them, and keep them informed. Early communication, as I mentioned earlier, not just with your core team who are the users, but in general, so the org knows what's coming. They understand that in 6 months or 9 months, there's an ATS coming out and changes. So to build your comp plan, but definitely keep your teams informed and close to you as well too, and so that they feel that they have ownership, they have input, and that they actually do have ownership, they actually do have input, instead of just feeling it, but they also feel that way too, so that when you go live, they're going to work in your system. All right, so requirements. This is kind of important. You understand why you're buying what you're buying. This is where everything starts coming together, and these last few steps really kind of building everything else. You understand who your SMEs are, right? So you built your core group. So SME means subject matter expert. So you built your core group of folks who are really responsible and are accountable. And in there you have your folks who are expert at marketing, at sourcing, at general recruitment, at onboarding, whatever pieces there are that you're looking to kind of buy technology for. You break up them into groups. At least this group here does sourcing, you do branding, you do this, you do that. Give me all your requirements for a new system. Based on what we know from our process, based on from our broad research, what are our requirements? When you get those back, and make sure they number them, scale of 1 to 3, 3 being critical, 1 being the least, or vice versa, whatnot. They have to score each one of them. When you get them back, look at them all, and make sure that the one group didn't make them all 3s. So maybe sourcing made everything a 3. It's got to be more like 30% of each, 33%. You sort of a third 3, a third of 2, a third of 1s. Just because if it's all 3s, you will never get a tool, because no tool does everything perfectly. So make sure you have some blend. What's really important? Be ready to push back a little bit in your teams, or maybe they're perfect. They come back with they follow your instructions. Never happens. Maybe they do, and they've done a blend. They've been reasonable, rational, and you have your requirements. Regardless, you have your list. Force rank them. Essentially sort them by three to one, and say, okay, here are 3s, and then within those 3s, sort of you divide up into, here's the marketing 3s, here's the sourcing 3s, etc. Those are really important. That's really the 3s really should guide your direction and who you're talking to. Because if you know something's critical and a vendor can't do it, don't drag them along. Even if they're great at everything else, don't drag them along if you know you're going to rule them out. That's important. All right, so this is where we get to the vendors. So you know basically what you want. You know your process. You know your budget. You know who you are as an organization. That's all good stuff. That helps you define your list, and that's where someone like myself, hi, little plug, can help you a lot with building that list out. Because I've got a pretty broad understanding of who's good where, what vendors do things well, what vendors are missing certain features, have features you don't mean to be aware of, etc. So you want a guide, because you want to understand what's out there. If you lack in that guide, think about who do you know that's using the ATSs right now that you're friendly with. Call some of your friends up. What are you using? What do you like? What do you not like? Make sure they're relatively in your industry, hopefully, so you can bring apples to apples. But start doing some research, do some backdoor references. If you've heard of a certain ATS, if you've heard of Jobbik, well, find their customers. Call some of the customers up that you might know. Do some backdoor references. And then start looking at how they actually integrate, right? So if you've heard that a certain vendor always fails at their Taleo integrations, well, then don't use them if you have Taleo, because they're going to fail. Until they've actually proven success somewhere, don't risk. What happens is you want to be their learning lesson. They learn how to integrate on your dime. That's not good. That's not good for you. So make sure they've accidentally or if they haven't, that they have a third party they can work with, or you get strong clawbacks in your contract that basically say, if you haven't hit these deadlines by this date, we're gonna fire you during implementation at no harm to us. So either get someone that's proven they can do it, or get someone on the hook on their contract, their feet to the fire that they fail, they're in trouble. But protect us up there a little bit, right? That's a side note. Pricing wise, just get estimates. They can't give you their full price unless they see the full RFP, but you can probably get estimates based on your population, your job openings, whatever their metrics are they use to build their pricing models. You should be able to get some kind of broad sense, and let them know that it's not considered in writing. This is not a quote. You just want to get a sense so that you can start looking back at your budget and whatnot, and making sure you're actually we're going to be reasonable with what you're looking to spend. Last piece again, small plug. This is where we help. Consultants can bring savings. We know the actual price versus the list price that's out there. We can help with negotiations. We can make sure that it's a smooth integration of the vendor side as well as the client side, so that you're buying the right technology, they're selling to the right client, and when you go live, everyone's happy. Quite often it could be there's bad in both directions. You want to avoid that. All right, the RFP. And we are almost to 11, by the way. We're almost done here as well. RFPs can be really complicated and huge and messy and quite often pointless if they're overwritten. If you're throwing every single thing in there, all your requirements from 1 to 3 and then some, you're going to scare off a lot of vendors. You're going to piss vendors off who are busy and maybe if they have other RFPs to answer and they'll go with somebody else because they have bandwidth issues. Or you're going to wind up with somebody who overpromised, so they can do everything. They're great at everything, and they're generally the worst at everything. So don't have a massive, complex RFP. On the flip side, you got to get what you have to get. So at a minimum, you want those 3s in there. Those are all required. And you blend in your 2s too. Maybe call your 1s a bit if you need to, and kind of keep your back pocket for hey, these are nice to have. We hear they can do this. That may tilt things in their favor. But make sure you've got enough detail in there that you get the question that you want answered. That's important, but don't kill them with just too many questions, with too much complexity. Because quite often there are things you don't need. I've actually seen RFPs come through where the same question is asked 4 times in different sections of the RFP, almost word for word. Basically, each group asked the question. The person who pulled it together didn't go through it carefully enough. So you're asking the same question over and over again. That if the vendor can do that piece, they just scored 4 times when they should have scored once. And the flip side, the vendor may look at that and be like, I don't want to work with this client. Look how disorganized they are. We're gonna pass this RFP and go somewhere else. They do have choice, and they should choose to work with clients that seem reasonable, right? Again, with the RFP, what's your goal? What are your objectives? Where do you want to get to? How do you measure? Make sure that the RFP looks for pieces in the technology that can help you meet your goals. Use your SMEs. Again, when you're building the RFP, have them go through, have them build their sections, right? So have your sourcing SMEs take the requirements and build their RFP section. And it should be super easy to translate that over. That should be a kind of block and tackle piece. But make sure they work on that for you. And then double check it. Look for doubles, look for misspellings, look for weird things. Look for the unreasonable. Make sure they just sneak something in there that wasn't in the initial requirements document. And then make sure it's all ready. It could be at this point the alligator shows up and says, listen, I hear you buying an ATS. Well, my cousin Bob has a great ATS and it does this. Make sure that's a requirement on the RFP. That's probably not a good thing to do. So push back a bit. It could be that HRIS shows up last minute and says, hey, we have Workday. Overall, when you get your new ATS, it has to be Workday Recruit. Well, that's a problem right there. Make sure that if they're trying to slide Workday in, this is that you slide in some requirements that Workday can't handle, because some of them are pretty basic, and make them threes. That's a good kind of block there if you're looking to kind of just make sure that you have a case to make. Look, they can't do X, Y, and Z, and these are requirements. And make sure the legit requirement. Don't make things up, but there's stuff Workday can't do on the recruiting level that you can really knock them out with a couple RFP questions. They may still get pushed in because, again, an alligator pushed them in and forced it, but now you have documentation they can't do certain things, and then make them show how they can't do those things during the demos. And I don't mean to beat up a Workday, but they're one example of a few out there who are like that. Look for your road mines in the RFP. Set expectations with everyone. Timing wise, help your team understand that they're not getting everything they want from the RFP, that they're going to lose features. There are no silver bullets. And then shoot it up and get ready for things to come back. All right, last one, don't panic. There's more beyond this. There's a lot more. There's the live demos, there's all that. I thought about putting them into this presentation, but it just got really unwieldy. Start talking about how to build demo scripts, how to manage vendors, how to manage objections, how to score, and on and on. The redlining. This is just the beginning process. There's a lot more past this. Don't freak out though. That's rule 11. That should be rule 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Don't panic. You're going to make mistakes. Your folks are going to drop balls. Folks who are responsible are going to miss lines in the project plan and miss deliverables. You can have vendors who will call you maybe with the process and tell you, listen, we just got acquired by a competitor who you ruled out because you fired them last year. All of a sudden, you're on the hook. It could be that you find out that they claim they can integrate with Taleo. They can't. All kinds of things will come up during the process. You'll have the alligators. You'll have folks quitting. You'll change in direction. Budget changes. Keep your eye on the prize, adjust as you go. Don't panic. It's just software. This is not brain surgery. And yeah, this can damage your reputation and it can be hard, but this is not the end of the world. In the end of the day, this is TA technology. It's important. No one's dying on the table if you make a mistake. Don't panic. And that's my general overview of how to buy TA technology. I could do this for hours and hours and hours. That was super high level. If you have questions, you come at me now or by email or Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or smoke signals or carrier pigeons. I'm always available.
Thank you so much, Martin.
The pigeons would be cool, actually. If I get a message about carrier pigeon, I will answer that with a carrier pigeon.
Well, I bet you there are at least 12 set out right now, so I'd keep your window open.
Awesome.
Yeah. No, this was really, really fantastic. And there was so much information in that deck. And you were very clear on everything. So we find that a lot whenever you're clear, we don't get as many questions because they're answered along the way. So if you do have any questions, we still have a few minutes. So please send them in. We're waiting for them. I do have a question. Do you have any specific software that you have, personal experience with that you would recommend? And if you don't feel comfortable doing that on the webinar, that's fine. But if you have anything that you could recommend to people, that might be really helpful.
Well, so I'll keep it kind of broad because I don't want to go
Yeah.
into vendors in the space. I try, so I love all my children. I try and I try and stay in like in a neutral lane when it comes to advice. I mean, part of it is because I think everything's always changing, and I can say, well, this was great this today, and I thought that turned out yesterday they made a change, it's terrible, or vice versa. So
Yeah. Well, it's so
I'm careful with that.
yeah.
What's that?
I was going to say it's also so specific to the client as well. So it's kind
Well,
of hard to.
that's the next piece. I mean, there's great software that's built that's built for certain industries that only works there, and you have to be careful there. Or there's ATS, it says that they're built for with hiring manager in the front seat, and those are great for certain organizations, terrible for others. So it's more a matter of who you are. Again, that's the process, bro. Let's go back to process. Understand who you are, what you need, and then you can find the right vendors. I mean, yeah, but again, more broadly, I mean, for project management and things like that, if I stay out of the space, I love Asana as a tool for planning. If you're buying software, look at Asana for even the light version, just to kind of plan out what you're doing. Super helpful for building project teams, all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, a good project software in general is good. I give Asana a lot of love. You know, I like Calendly a lot for booking appointments on the fly. So if you're working on a project, you have a Calendly link, folks can drop some time in your calendar to kind of catch up on what's happening here and there. That can be useful. So there's a lot in the back end you can build up to get ready for this process of tech implementation. Now you may use internally, you may have internal tools you use. It could be you're using something that's harder, like a Visio for chart and planning, for process mapping, but it is what it is. Or it could be you're looking into technology that can help you kind of plan out, your processes. We actually use why am I drawing a blank on what we use for? It's not. I'm drawing a total blank on my process software. I'm actually gonna do this for 1 second. Close this out for a minute. Right. Where are you? Not a Sun, Harvest, like Calendly. Where's my tool? Well, I can't find it all of a sudden. I'll think of a couple seconds. But we use process tools to help us with process mapping, and they're pretty light and easy to use. It's all SaaS based, so support tools are important for all of this. Lucidchart, LUCID chart. I love Lucidchart. In fact, if you're looking to do process mapping or org mapping, or just sort of look at your tech ecosystem, grab Lucidchart. It's a great technology, super light, super easy to use. It'll help you get visual and understand what you need to do next in your process, in your tech planning, and your org chart.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. The Lucid Chart and Asana.
Yeah, those two together are powerful when you're looking to build out any kind of planning for technology, for purchasing or planning or your process or your people.
That's cool. Well, we have a couple more questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, Jen says, do you find a better software for large companies and a global platform? So I think she's looking for a software that you like for large companies on a global platform.
I guess my question is ATS, CRM, RMP, some kind of mixture, global chatbot. So I mean, so if you're thinking about and global's hard, right? Let me put the measurement there too, because there's global compliance, and that's legal compliance, IT compliance, data compliance, and they're governed by differently around the world. So you have to have an enterprise level vendor who actually understands that kind of complexity and can handle that. And that's harder in some ways to find. That's a narrower slice. And there are the usual suspects, the Oracles, the Teleos, the SAPs. There's Connection, believe it or not, still exists. There's obviously Workday coming up. Globally, Avature, I find their CRM is really complex and it can be overwhelming and doesn't always have the best adoption because of that, because that can be challenging. It is a good global CRM as far as language goes and support, and they have their ATS is I haven't played with it too much, but it's pretty good. It's global, ties into their CRM. So if you really have to go global, that's one option I'd look at. I mean, there are others too. I mean, there's obviously some good overlays on top of Workday. So if you have to use Workday for recruiting, Beamery, Phenom, a few others have really good integrations at the CRM level. So you can you can kind of bury the whole. I think Identify does too. You can bury the whole Workday apply process under a strong CRM and or RFP. The question is, are they really global? And that's where it starts getting kind of challenging, because your ATS might be, your CRM RFP may not be.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
makes sense, or
tricky.
yeah.
It makes sense to me. Yeah, as a matter of fact, we are about to launch a survey to try to figure out how people buy these enterprise ATS and really high level software. So keep an eye out for that, guys. We have one more question. It's from Scott. He says, do you have any more techniques on successfully dealing with naysayers or alligators?
I find alcohol helps. That's more for me.
Alcohol.
Uh,
That's the answer to all of life's problems.
wow, you and I are gonna get along. Yeah, no. So yeah, it's a good question. I'm gonna say right now it's hard, as we all know. I do find that if you keep them informed early on, wherever they fall in that ratio chart or wherever they're in the org, that's your best medicine for them. It's not always going to work, but a lot of times these squeaky wheels are squeaking because they feel that they weren't kept in the loop. They didn't give it enough attention, et cetera, et cetera. It can be that their communication style is different than yours, and then they need to be approached a bit differently. One thing I recommend actually is DISC certification, DISC, or some variant of that for your teams, and that's it's pretty light and simple. It's basically an online test they do, but what it gives you as a leader is a report that shows they have basically 4 styles, DISC, and I won't go through them all, but each of those 4 styles will give you a sense for how they communicate, how they interact, and advice around how to approach them, how to interact with them, what they prefer as far as communication goes, and all that kind of good stuff. If you've done that kind of leveling, it can help you understand, well, this Bob's a squeaky wheel because he hates getting told things last minute, or he's got a really bad memory for verbal instructions, but if I email him this early enough, he'll be happy. He needs that communication or that cadence or whatnot. So some of it can be kind of individualized, and it's a pain in the butt to do it. But if you've got some real squeaky wheels who, and especially if they've influence, you understand how they communicate, reach them there and do it early and do it often. Beyond that, I'd recommend whiskey.
So communication and alcohol.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But maybe don't communicate while you're doing the alcohol. That can go sideways sometimes.
Sometimes it makes it a hell of a lot easier. So, well, we're coming up on the hour. So I just want to say thank you so much, Martin. This was a wonderful, wonderful presentation. So much learned. And you have got excellent webinar. Thank you. Of course, enjoying coming in left, right, and center. So I know the audience feels exactly the same way.
Cool, good. Well, thanks everyone for dialing in. Appreciate it. Like I said earlier, I'm an open book. If you have questions, you want to kind of catch up or connect, find me here, there, and everywhere. I'm an open book. And if you're in Austin this week for some reason, I'm hanging out at TA Tech, making the rounds. Come find me. Love to see folks in person, or if you're in Boston in the near future, find me there.
Will you have whiskey?
I generally do. That sounds
Thank
terrible.
you. There's nothing wrong with that. It exists for a reason. Thank you everyone so much for being here today. We've really, really appreciated it. And again, if you have those questions, send them to Martin, send them to me. We're all here waiting. I'm going to let you go so we don't hold you forever. And another thank you came in. You are so welcome. Thank you. Yes, we will send you a recording of the webinar, Allie. So just keep an eye on that inbox. It's coming your way. All right. Thanks, Martin. You have a wonderful day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.